Welcome back to Kirkpatrick and Company. Ruben Henderson is here, and man, you were someone from the beginning of this podcast. You know, I was trying to figure out what our connection was and how we can get there. It was just 1 degree, by the way, of separation, which is good. But, you know, in this season, Kirkpatrick and Company, we're talking about investment, and a lot of times people think monetary investment, building buildings or opening businesses. And you sit at the intersection of investment in the next generation and the investment in, you know, kids who are coming to college. I call them kids. They're young adults that are coming to UO Lafayette and really starting out and plotting out the future. You work in recruiting and admissions. And I'm just excited to have a conversation with you because I think there is so much misconception about what those young minds are like. And, you know, that they don't try as hard as us, and they don't work as hard as us, and they just want, you know, I don't think any of that is true. So I'm basically bringing you in here so you can say, no, but that's true. He said, guys, please say I said a lot. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it, Brian.
Yeah. So this is the vault. I told you I call this my tree house, my adult tree house. We can come in and, you know, I like to say, look, it's a vault, but there's no secrets here. We're going to have a great conversation. And I just sort of want to jump in at the words quiet excellence. This is what I wrote. Ruben Henderson, quiet excellence. That's what I called this episode. And, you know, in talking to people who've worked with you, people who know you personally, it was funny because I got a little bit of a mix, like, I don't know about that. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me be clear about that. Quiet in that you don't make it about yourself, but loud when it comes to the people you're helping and guiding. So let's kind of jump into mentorship. This is where you are. Why are you so passionate about mentoring and helping the next generation?
Yeah, that was a great question. Again, thank you for allowing me to be here, Brian. This is it's a special moment. And you reaching out and allowing me the space and the opportunity to come and have this great conversation, it brightened my day. So I'm excited, looking forward.
So glad you're here.
Yeah. So, mentorship, it has always been something, I say always, but for a long part of my lifetime, I've seen it, I've experienced it. I for sure would not be the person I am today without all of the individuals that have poured so much into me. And I think it was earlier on in my higher education journey where I realized that, wow, like all of these folks have contributed so much to me and who I am today. So working in higher education, it is a true privilege and a luxury to be able to mentor students, to be able to watch them grow, help them become their best authentic selves. One of the things that I learned in mentorship is that a mentor will always tell you, don't be like me, be better than me, right? And so much of that has instilled upon me very unique and special values. It's allowed me to be aligned with my purpose. And I live my life in a way where I strive to want and to inspire others to also feel that same value and then same significance. Mentorship, I for sure wouldn't be where I am. I probably more than likely wouldn't even be in higher education. But so much of what I've gained over the years has really helped me to be someone who lives a life of inspiration and motivation to give that and to show anyone that they too can do whatever they put their minds to.
Well, and I got to say, for the people who are watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, you're going to see that Ruben is the best dressed guest we've had. Yes, I appreciate it, Rob. Well, and I will say, like, yes, I almost didn't bring it up, but in your answer that you just said, you know, I have 2 young daughters. They're 11 and 12. And so much that we talk about is not dad saying the shorts are too short.
Yeah.
It's dad saying it's all about kind of what you put out into the world and what people remember. So I know that if I call Ruben and say, yo, man, I just got this phone call. We're going to the governor's mansion. You probably won't have to run home.
Oh, yeah, nope.
You ready?
You're ready. Yep, Rick. Either have it on or it's in the fall to the office or somewhere accessible.
Yeah. So talking about that sort of outward confidence, outward excellence. By the way, I'm putting all these words on you. So you can say, Rob, it's not that. I just like to look good. But it really is. It's part of your reputation. It's part of your existence. You hold by.
Yes.
And it is about self-respect.
Yes. I've always been a firm believer in presentation. Something that a mentor shared with me a few years ago or earlier on in my career is that you should always dress for your next position, right? And so dressing has always been something that I've been aligned with. And it's funny, I look back at photos, I have a conversation with my mom and my family, and they always tell me how they saw it, like kind of happen in stages and phases, right? And so, like looking at elementary, middle school, and then high school, and then I joined my wonderful fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and I was surrounded by other individuals, other men like myself, who really took a high level of appreciation to looking nice and looking good. I think too that this has always been aligned with my confidence. I believe what you put out there is what you also get back. So kind of thinking about some mentorship pieces that I strive to set the example, to be a role model. I always tell students and individuals that I work with that I'll never expect or tell someone to do something that I in turn wouldn't do myself, right? And so I believe you gotta put your money where your mouth is. So yeah, I love this. I love dressing this way. It helped me. I think when you look good, you feel good, right?
Yeah. And you do better work.
Yeah, you do absolutely good, better work. But so it helps the mindset. It really just makes you feel that you can do anything in the world. So I know for me, I'm a big superhero fan. And so I think in another lifetime, like I was like a Cyclops, I was an Iron Man. And so I feel like for a lot of time, this is like my cake.
Yeah.
This is my
Well, I think also you almost like on the Spider-Man side, that the suit is really under there. So
it's underneath.
right. Let's talk about kind of campus life and on college campuses. It's the summertime right now, so obviously you're gearing up for thousands of new students who are going to move to the area, or at least move to UL Lafayette if they're commuting students.
Yes.
What's that energy like as you have, I'm sure there's fear, I'm sure there's anxiety and stuff, but it's also opportunities are endless.
Yes, yep. So right now it's summertime, so summer school's going on, so it's obviously a whole lot quieter than it would normally be like in the fall or spring. But we've had several orientations, new student orientations. So we are orienting new students and their families to campus. So we're getting ready to bring them all home in August, right?
We were actually just recently talking because it occurred to me I never showed them where I lived at UL Lafayette. And I started at Stokes Hall B. The two Stokes Halls that were on the back towards the UPA area. And they were like, oh, so what was it? And what did you do? And so I was explaining, there was a roommate I didn't know. There was, 7 other suite mates I didn't know. And we were on the 5th floor, walk up. And they're like, oh, no, there's no elevator. And I'm like, no, we were freshmen. Like, we got put at the top, And those little things, is really where it starts. Because for many people, it's the first time they can sort of lead into who they are and not have their parents right around the corner. What do you see? Or I guess I'll ask, has it changed? Do you see any difference from that? Obviously, I guess 2006 was when I moved here. So we're talking about 20 years ago this year. Man, wait a second. That's the first time I actually thought about it. 20 years since I moved. I knew it to UL and started at UL as a freshman. But I often look and think they're still having the same struggles, the same challenges, and probably still have the same hopes and dreams,
Yeah, so I think now it's definitely been what I'll say has been like evolution, right? So during our time, and not to put too much context into time and our age, but that was a relatively long time ago, and we were in that same time period. So I think now we see students that are much more aware of mental health. We see students that are much more aware of a sense of belonging. A sense of belonging is something that I hold very near and dear to my heart. It's actually something that I'm working on for my dissertation in the Doc Full program. But we're seeing students now that are actively now wanting to be a part of something. And a lot of times these students don't necessarily know where to go or where to start. They sometimes don't have a person. I'm very much a lot of students on campus. I am a person to a lot of students. But they lack those connections. It can sometimes hinder or even slow down their progression academically and the other programs. So we notice now more than ever where students are intentionally looking for engagement. They're intentionally looking for connections because it's not as easy for them to find it as it was for us. With these students, we have to definitely be a little bit more patient and then a little bit more graceful. In a sense that they aren't always aware of the things of like what they may need to be successful. So we spend a good bit amount of time trying to make sure we're exposing them to those resources and exposing them to those opportunities.
Well, and I don't think that, I'm not one of these people that kind of blames everything on social media, but I almost feel like, you know, the Facebook was new and you had to have the .edu, and it was really, your network was really just your college whenever I was starting college. It was almost like you had to find those in-person groups if you didn't want to have those things. And I think of so many things that are just so silly. Remember when back in our day, where Panera Bread is on Johnston Street was Cece's. Mm-hmm. Well, that was like the place. I feel like people would go there whatever night. I swear it was like $5, all you could eat pizza, you know? And like those were the places where you had to go, where I almost feel like now, if you have your friends from home or if you have your online community, which is important, and it sometimes is the only community people can find. Yeah. Then maybe it's a little bit harder because you don't so much have to. But man, Lafayette is just such a welcoming place. We hear that about all the time. People who just find their groups and they may not even be looking.
Yeah,
you know?
very true. That is very true. It's everything about, I think about our campus, I think about UL, and I think about the city of Lafayette. And it's all, oftentimes, like when I can't find the right words to use, I just kind of use the word magic. Yeah. It's just magic. It's magical in the sense of the community, in the sense of the people. Everyone works really hard to create this inclusive space where everyone feels like they're welcome, everyone feels like they're important, everyone feels like they belong. So I think that's definitely one of the highlights of being a place where people genuinely and authentically care about each other.
That's true. Ruben Henderson is here, our guest in the vault in Kirkpatrick and Company. We're going to take a quick break, tell you a little bit about Catalyst Bank and what they're doing to form community, to support community, to invest in community. And of course, their support of this project has really been awesome. So we'll tell you a little about them. We'll come back with more. Ruben Henderson on Kirkpatrick and Company.
Kirkpatrick and Company is brought to you by Catalyst Bank. If you're looking for a bank that actually knows Acadiana, you want Catalyst Bank. They've been serving the community for over 100 years, and that's not just history, that's trust. Catalyst Bank is built for local businesses, for local families, for real life. Their mission is simple: be a catalyst for economic growth right here at home. You get the best of both worlds: big bank technology, mobile access, and digital tools that keep up with you, and something you don't always get anymore: real hometown service. Call a branch, a real person answers. Need a loan? Decisions are made locally. That means faster answers and more flexibility. From commercial lending to personal banking, they're here with you for every step. Catalyst Bank, fueling business, improving lives. Visit catalystbank.com or stop by a local branch today.
Welcome back to Kirkpatrick and Company. Our guest today, Ruben Henderson. Man, you were on the target list for this project. I'm talking from inception. I could go into the notes and it was just people. And I think the reason I am so fascinated is because I keep going back to quiet excellence. You're not in everyone's space saying exactly what you're doing, and here's the big things. You know, we sort of live in this culture of self-promotion, and it's not the Ruben Henderson way. And so just know it's recognized without you having to put your face on the billboard out here. I mean, if you do, I'll clap, I'll take a picture, I'll say good for you too. But you don't have to do that. And so it's really great. We are talking about mentorship and really higher education in general, because it's where you are. It's where you're even working on further your education and doctoral program. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What are you? We're working towards that. We're going to be PhD, EDD. Okay, all right.
So I'm aiming for 2027. So hopefully May, August, if not December. But it is a work in progress, right? It was funny to have the conversation a little while ago before we started, and it's definitely something that I've never experienced before, you know? And so coming from like an MBA and then going into an ED program, it's just very, very different. But what I can say is that it's challenging me, it's making me think about things in ways that I haven't thought about before. I'm a hardcore practitioner, so I want to like get down and do the work as necessary. So this is really challenging me to think about the theories, to think about like all of the reasons why we do what we do and how that's all grounded in research on academia. So this is definitely like putting me outside of my comfort zone. And so in the spirit of mentorship and talking about mentoring, that's something that I challenge individuals and I challenge our students to do all the time. So it's good that I'm able to take my own advice, right? So I'm able to step outside of my comfort zone and I'm exploring and I'm into all of this. I finished all of my coursework. And so now I'm really focused on my writing and getting through that process, which again, it's been interesting. It's been uncomfortable, but I definitely learned to TTP, baby, trust the process.
Yes. And sometimes that discomfort's where the magic is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think of the hardest professors I had, and then even working in the professional world, the hardest anchors I produced. I think back and I think, well, I actually learned the most,
Yes.
you know, during that time. And what a better, I guess, I was joking on a billboard, but what a better billboard for someone who is recruiting people to the university, who is talking to incoming freshmen in the undergraduate program to also say, no, I was where you were, you know, we won't say how many years ago, but I was there, and I get my master's, and I am getting my doctoral degree. So good for you.
Yes, I appreciate it.
All right, I want an invite to the party when it happens. We're gonna celebrate.
Oh, you get special invite.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
We'll do whatever you need.
It's all this celebration.
I want to ask about that sort of investment in higher education, because we are at a time that, you know, we have some economic challenges, and yet, guess what? Kids are still graduating high school, are still making that choice to go from maybe a 2-year college to the university. When you're having to talk about, because you do have a background in admissions counseling too, about what the investment is in a college degree.
Yeah, so it is. And it's interesting. And there's a lot of conversation about things. I keep using the word evolve as evolve over a period of time. And so what we're seeing now, something that's been around for a while, is something called ROI, so return on investment, right? And so we look at like the students and how much they're contributing financially to their degrees, towards their education. So there's a lot of formulas, and there's a lot of things that are continuously changing to make it more accommodating to the students and to the experience. One thing that I think is really cool, specifically about UL Lafayette, is that now we're looking more like holistically at the student's experience. So we now have what's called the Division for Student Success. And so the Division of Student Success actually looks at the students before they even get there, and ultimately once and even after they graduate, and how to keep them engaged with the institution. So I think now, being that we've been able to learn a lot about where the current student is. So it's funny how we were saying earlier, like back in the day when I was there, when I was to be what, so it's a very different time now. So I can appreciate that within the state, within higher education as a whole, any university or any entity that can really reflect on the type of student that's on today's college campus, because it's very different from during our time. It's very different from 40 years ago, very different from 50 years ago. So being able to take time to understand the type of student and how can we best serve them, I think is important.
Yeah, no, I think it's so fascinating. I think about one of the earlier conversations my now wife and I had. We started dating at UL Lafayette, and she was a nursing student. So she's like, I'm going to graduate on this date, and this is the job I'm going to have. And here I am, a liberal arts, broadcast, mass comm student who's like, I'm not sure what I want to do. We'll see what happens. And it was like a totally different mindset. She could stay up all night to study for a test. I would be like, well, my final is a speech, and I'll probably start on it tomorrow morning. Yeah, you know, and it's funny because our personalities are that way as well. Like when I would watch her, and she has since become a nurse practitioner and things. So I've been around for grad school, and the note cards everywhere and everything. And I just say, like, that's not me, you know?
Well,
It's different, you know? But I just think it's really so interesting whenever you do talk about that investment, and it is more than money. It is resources and time and making sure people find. I've also thought it's been really cool, the sort of relationship and ongoing sort of working, I guess, system between like a SOLA CC and UL Lafayette, because you're talking about very different student populations. I've been lucky to do some work with them in the past, and when you start to look, and it's not who you think is there, and yet supporting so many great career tracks that need to have that. But so it is that whole student too.
Yep, and that support, I think that support looks different for everyone too, right? One thing that we, in higher education, we have a golden rule, and that golden rule is kind of centered around the idea of we meet students where they are.
Yeah.
And I think every student is in a different place. It's never a good idea to take a blanket and to throw it over a group of students and expect everyone to kind of adjust and adapt. And in higher education, we're very intentional about meeting the students where they are and giving them whatever access, whatever resources, whatever support they need. So it's really, it's special to be able to see that a university like UL Lafayette continues to live in that motto and live in that vision.
Yeah, and really encouraging the relationships with advisors and everything else as well. I want to ask a little bit about misconceptions, because I do think that even folks who may live within the city limits of Lafayette might drive past on St. Mary or Johnston or University and, either think, oh, this is some, indoctrination outfit, and here's what these kids are doing. And in my day,
Yep.
I would imagine that's wrong. Yeah, that's a wrong misperception.
Yeah, so I think I was thinking about this earlier, that when you look at social media or you look at the fancy brochures, I think it all kind of paints this picture of students having fun, being engaged, and just like this high intense and high excitement atmosphere, right? But I think that when you kind of pull back the layers, that's when I mentioned earlier, you see the mental health. You see that there are some students who sometimes don't even leave their like residence hall or their room on campus just because they don't feel connected. They don't feel that sense of belonging. So I think that over the years, as I mentioned earlier, it's become harder to connect with students. So we have to be very intentional about meeting them where they are and finding ways to get them to get connected so that they feel that they are part of the campus community. I think now more than ever, we're seeing a rise in mental health. Students now are talking more actively about their mental health. Yeah, I'll be the first to say I was very guilty as a student. I always put it on the back burner. I never recognized it. I never acknowledged it. We had stress. We had anxiety. We had all
This is just a part of it. Everyone does.
yeah. And even our families, our older members of our families and older friends were like, oh yeah, it's all a part of it. It's all a part of what you do. It's all a part of the process of growing up and being a college student. Yeah, where these students are like way more in tune. They're way more in tune about like their feelings, and that they don't like not feeling connected and not taking care of themselves mentally. So we spent a lot of time and resources making sure that we're providing those spaces. And sometimes all the pretty pictures and all the social media photos, that's not always the case. So we have a lot of challenging conversations. We see students that come from very difficult households. We see students that don't necessarily always that aren't in the best financial situation. So we're having to kind of work with them and give them some extra love and some extra support. But it's definitely, there's been some significant changes through the years. So it's all about just kind of finding that access, finding those resources, and making sure that we're giving the students what they need to be successful.
Yeah, and you know what I do think when I think about even my own college experience, I don't think about necessarily the party pics like you're talking about. You do have a lot of time to contemplate. You are walking between, and there is a lot of solo time, or maybe you're in a residence hall with someone from somewhere that you don't know and you've never met.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do sort of remember that. And it's funny because I hadn't really thought of that until you said that. But I used to always love summer session because I always felt like, first of all, it was condensed. So I would do really hard classes in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
It was really condensed, but campus was kind of empty. And so you really could just go. My mind would be so much clearer to just have one or two classes during the summer, and maybe the 38-year-old me is like, you should have just had more fun. You should have gone to the beach more. Yeah, but that was just sort of the place I was in. Yeah, that's really cool though.
Oh yeah, and it's just almost like this sense of like being able to navigate in a quieter space, being able to find yourself around. And then even I think about now, a time right now where our campus is really quiet. Those walks, and then particularly the walks by Cypress Lake, by the swamp, it's just almost so revitalizing. It's so refreshing. It really helps you to see like how special Lafayette and UL really is,
So I sort of want to get into just your perspective on where you work day to day, and it's not a 9-to-5 job. Trust me, I see you at all the things and places that you need to be, and even maybe at a restaurant with a mentee, because you're also trying to show that part of it as well.
Yeah.
After all your years of working with students, what gives you the most hope about the future?
That is a really good question. I think the thing that I would probably say would just be the energy. It would be, I'll use a young modern day word.
Okay.
Student, abide.
Abide,
Yeah, I think the energy and the abide is there. And a lot of the students, and I can specifically speak for the longest of students that I mentor, they really crave, they really want, they really desire to be successful. They want to learn the ropes. They want to learn how to navigate. They want to meet all the folks. They want to do all the things. And so I think I appreciate being able to see students and individuals that are just embracing the unknown and embracing the fact that they're wanting to be better. I was just telling a group of students with we have a program with my fraternity called Catholic. It's a program for middle school and high school students. And we had our first workshop yesterday. We have about 20 new guys that have been that we're working to induct into the program. And I just told them yesterday, the idea is that when you know better, you do better, right? And so I can honestly say that this generation, they want to know better, they want to do better. So when you have that desire and you really have that interest, I think your heart is in it. And I think when your heart are in your intentions, it really allows you to walk more in your purpose and to walk more in a way that you want to make an impact and you want to make a difference.
You know, it's interesting because this just sort of came to me while you were saying that, but the change from, you know, let's just say just repeat generational, whether it's poverty or abuse or domestic violence and those sorts of things, that used to always sometimes be used as kind of the why. Like, you know, we see maybe someone offending or not going to college, and then you can say, well, no one else did in their family. It does seem like this generation, and maybe it is being exposed to people like yourself, whether it's in person or your social media and everything else, to actually say, like, no, actually, why don't we climb up the mountain of it doesn't have to be this way always? You know, I'll tell you, my spirit animal is Kiki Palmer. And does that surprise you?
Well, it does.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. But she has this podcast called Baby It's Kiki Palmer, all right? She does the best interviews. I wish mine could be as fun, but you know, I'm not Kiki Palmer. But one of the things she talks about is her own upbringing. You know, she moves to Hollywood from a really bad home situation, but her whole family goes too. And she talks a lot about the pressure of that. Yeah. But then where it's ultimately the best thing she ever did. You know, like, yes, it does put a lot of pressure. And so I do think it sort of goes back to that mental health conversation where you may be the first to do something, so it is scary. And, you know, it's the whole, like, you're scared about it because it's the first time, not because you can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, you really shine the light on it.
Yep.
And then you saying the word first makes me also think about first generation students. So students that have little to no knowledge of like how to navigate any of these processes. And you know, and I can honestly say, when you don't have those resources or that access, it can be extremely intimidating from applying to a college and navigating that FAFSA and navigating these things that are always constantly changing. And so, even with our first generation students, we've over the years at UL, we've been more intentional with engaging them, doing some programming and just giving them opportunities to be connected and opportunities to gain awareness and knowledge about those processes and how to easily navigate them.
Man, I'm encouraged just because we got someone like you at the wheel. Because really, I mean, I think if you're not in it every single day, you have an assumption that it is what you are. And I mean, I talk about moving to Lafayette 20 years ago. There are a lot of decision makers who might have moved to Lafayette 60 years ago. And, you know, and they have perceptions or 50 years ago. Ruben Henderson is here with us, doing so much good, being an example in so many different ways. We're going to take one more break. Then we'll come back. It may be your worst nightmare, but we'll see how it goes. A lightning round of some questions. Just about you and maybe the impact students have made on you as part of your role.
Definitely.
Thanks for being here.
Appreciate you.
Kirkpatrick and Company is brought to you by Catalyst Bank. If you're looking for a bank that actually knows Acadiana, you want Catalyst Bank. They've been serving the community for over 100 years, and that's not just history, that's trust. Catalyst Bank is built for local businesses, for local families, for real life. Their mission is simple: be a catalyst for economic growth right here at home. You get the best of both worlds: big bank technology, mobile access, and digital tools that keep up with you, and something you don't always get anymore: real hometown service. Call a branch, a real person answers. Need a loan? Decisions are made locally. That means faster answers and more flexibility. From commercial lending to personal banking, they're here with you for every step. Catalyst Bank, fueling business, improving lives. Visit catalystbank.com or stop by a local branch today.
Ruben Henderson is here, and we've made it to, I'm going to say my favorite part. I mean, this has been a great conversation, but I love the lightning round of questions. We ask it every episode just to get to know you a little bit and what you do. So tell me a professor, a mentor, or teacher who changed your life. Oh, is there one?
Yeah, so that will probably have to be, I have to think of a name of a person, would it probably be Anthony Daniel.
Okay.
He is a previous supervisor of mine, and I had the pleasure of seeing him when I was a student, and then I had the even bigger and better pleasure of having him as a boss. And Anthony Daniel taught me so much about the professional side of being a young professional, as a Black man. And all of those opportunities and all the exposures that he's given me, it was just truly something that that helped just drastically shape me into who I am today. Got me involved as a member of our Christiana Smith African American Alumni Chapter. And it took a few years before I found myself serving in the president role. And so it was just one of the things where he understood so much of like, and those are the moments and those are the times that really allowed me to see how he became who he was. And he was just a great role model. It was someone who I saw the way he moved, I saw the things that he did, and it was just always just truly outstanding and just so impressive. And I look back, and I can honestly say that those moments and those times, I still reflect on them, and I still think about how the conversation, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like they were all opportunities for me to learn, all opportunities for me to grow. But he gave me, so many different experiences and supporting me with so many different endeavors. And I definitely would not be the professional I am without have had him as a boss, and also all of the experiences that he provided me with.
That's awesome. I'm glad you haven't. Shout out. Coffee shop or library when you need to get work done. Oh, where do you go?
So I am a hardcore coffee shop guy. We were talking about college weeds a little earlier ago, but I can find myself, I can go to Jet, I can go to Red, I can do Starbucks, I can do CC's, but I used the word vibes earlier, they're all different vibes, so it really just depends on like how I feel at that moment.
Yeah.
If I really need to buckle down and I need to like get into some stuff, get into some like a project, or I need to be reading and writing, right? I find myself at CC's, but if I feel like I'm being a little more social, like I'm gonna read a book and I'm gonna do something that would allow me to communicate or engage, and I find myself at Jet. So I kind of like look for the vibe and look for but coffee shops are truly like my happy place.
Well, I always like a coffee shop because maybe you're stressing over a hard decision, or you're trying to work through something like a hard project. You go into a coffee shop and realize everyone else is just living their life.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. Not terrible. It's a baby physics plan. Yes.
You got the drinks, the drinks being made.
The milk steamer. That's what I can hear.
There it is.
What is one book that every college student should read before they graduate?
The great question. And the great book that every college student should probably read would be, I'll probably say, oh man. I'm gonna take it back a little further, and I won't be as educational with this. Okay. I would honestly say The Great Gatsby. Ooh. That's very much outside of what I would have normally said.
Yeah.
I just watched it again for probably the 100th time.
Yeah.
And The Great Gatsby it's obviously a phenomenal book that was made into a movie, but it's one of those movies, it's one of those books that just really teaches you some great life lessons about people, engaging with people, connecting with people. And I think that I find that those books and those stories are the ones that really remind me of like why we do what we do and why it's so important. It also allows you to see like some things that you probably shouldn't do, and ways that you shouldn't abuse power, and you shouldn't abuse like how perception, how you're perceived, and how your brand is managed, right?
100%.
Yes, and even for that particular movie and that particular book, I think about a quote an equation that I share with my mentees all the time. I just shared this yesterday as well with our Capital program. Perception divided by time equals reality. So how you're perceived over a period of time, whether you are or aren't like that, becomes the reality of what people should believe you to be.
Yeah, right. Ooh, that's a great equation.
Perception divided by time equals reality.
It's interesting because there's one of these, sometimes I call it like the deep in your feels Instagram reels, Yeah. And there's one that comes up a lot, which is that what the next move is. You're just negotiating with comfort.
Yeah, well, that's a good.
And that could fall right into Yats.
Yes, it does.
Because and a lot of times, yes, we could be agonizing over something, but if we just look at every choice as just another decision or just another choice that's going to come with its own consequences,
yeah,
It's just another decision.
Yeah, the good one.
Man, that was a curveball I wasn't expecting.
It wasn't expected. All right.
I wasn't expecting that.
You hit me with maybe once. I'm gonna go ahead and just throw one thing more.
It's good. It's good. You know what? I think mine, I really, especially for this part of the world, I love radical candor. Especially for like your upperclassmen who are getting ready to enter the workforce, because it's something that it scared the hell out of me. The first time I worked in a workplace, they were out in California. I was living here. I was traveling back and forth. And on the first day, we're like, we govern this office by radical candor. And when I tell you, South Louisiana, we will keep the, cow with the broken leg, because we know that cow. We know that. Yeah. We will keep that cancer in the space because we know them. Yeah. It doesn't, if you can take the emotion out of some of the decisions and say, this isn't working. We've loved you being here. We love you as a person, but it's not going to work here.
Yep.
I just found that to be so almost just relieving to just say, because there's many times kind of with the comfort thing, you're negotiating with the comfort of having to either move on to something else, whether it's a relationship or a job, or then maybe it's an academic program.
Yeah.
But we get emotionally attached to it. So I kind of need a reminder sometimes to turn that up.
All of us.
Yes. All right, here we go. Final question. 20 years from now, what do you hope your former students or mentees or just people in your presence will say about you?
You like those curves.
Oh,
That's another really good curveball. I love it. I would definitely say I would want them to know and remember me leaving an impact and leaving a mark. There's an idea, there's a lot of stuff that has been done over the years where we talk about leaving your mark and what is your dash. And so the concept of what is your dash is when you think about when we were born and we enter the world, right? And also when we exit. And for the context of this example, you think about a tombstone and you have your name and you have your born date, you have your death date. And in between those, it's only separated by a very small dash. And so I always, when you think about what is your dash and when you are no longer here, what will people remember you by? I want to be able to say that I was remembered for leaving an impact. I care so much about this work and it's so valuable. And to be able to see the lives, to be able to be a part of so many of these students' lives, to be able to engage and meet their families, for some of them, like meeting them on day one and then even being there like for the celebrations, the good, the bad, and all of the in-between and watching them walk across the stage. And I go to a lot of graduation celebrations. Yep, a whole lot. And it's just so special and it's just so meaningful to be able to see that we are directly making that impact. I think that's an important word for us to walk away from this conversation with, is impact. I want to be remembered for making an impact on other people's lives and being able to let them know that I was someone that knew that they could make that difference. And I was someone that knew that I wanted to give them hope for their futures.
Ruben Henderson, it's been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you. Man, I just think I sort of want to go and roll. I got up. You want to just walk next door and let's pick our road ramp.
We're right out on the corner. We'll take a drive.
Let's just do it. Ruben Henderson, thank you so much. Make sure you follow Kirkpatrick and Company for all these conversations, and special thanks again to Catalyst Bank, our sponsor for this season. We'll be back again in 2 weeks with the final episode of Kirkpatrick and Company.